Hey nerds, what's up? Thanks so much for your patience as I took a little hiatus off and just was rejigging basically my brain and where I wanted this channel to go. It's really easy to fall into the YouTube algorithm, where YouTube usually rewards creators from sticking in a specific niche, and I kind of lost the point of my channel, which was never to be a successful YouTuber, but really just for this to be an avenue for me to express my creativity. So I really want to get back to that, and that's just kind of me saying that this channel is kind of going everywhere. As I like to describe myself, I'm very much an aspiring creative. I have a smattering of creative ideas, and I just really want to share my creativity. And one of the ways that I do that is through video making, which is super fun. Like I said, so we're getting back to the main route, which is just going to be me experimenting and creating different videos. So you guys will still get the quarterly board game update videos because I enjoy making those. I'm even thinking about doing like a board game awards show because that seems silly and fun. And every once in a while, maybe sharing some fan art, but you'll see more of that actually just over on my Instagram. So for those of you who are following the Popcross thing, I really appreciate all your views, but I'm actually not going to finish that series, but you'll see the finished artwork over on my Instagram. So stay tuned. So again, I appreciate each and every one of you who stuck around and watched different aspects of my channel, and I totally get if this does not sound like the channel for you, so I really appreciate any of your likes or watches, but I completely understand if you unsubscribe from me. Because like I said, creativity first. If I get views, sweet. But anyways, let's dive into all the board games I've played this quarter. This third quarter, we had a total of 28 new game titles, which now brings us to a total of 76 different game titles. But I did a lot of gameplay this quarter, and in total, we did 51 games played, which brings us to a total of 134 games played this year so far. And as always, as I go through this video, I'm going to list the new board game titles first, and then I'll go over the repeat games we did at the end. But here are the new board game titles that I added onto the list for this quarter. Quicks, Nerds, Seven Wonders, Wizard, Lacrimosa, and El Grande, which I know is a more classic board game that I've never had the chance to play until this quarter. El Grande is a really fun area control game that, again, like I said, is a more classic and older game. I don't know if the new one that my brother-in-law got changed any of the rules, but I'll give you the main synopsis that I read. Everyone has different colored meeples, and you have an El Grande, which is a man on a horse, I think. He's the biggest piece out of your meeples. And your El Grande meeple, really the only important thing about him is that wherever that meeple is placed, that's your home territory. And if you have the majority in your home territory, you get extra points. And you have 30 soldiers, caballeros, and there's also the castillo, which is the tower, basically. The game is played over 9 rounds, and at the end of the 3rd, 6th, and 9th rounds, you'll score. You have starting meeples in your court, I believe, and you can take those meeples from your court and place them on the map. And you'll do that by looking at the 5 actions that will be like a public pool for you to take from, and everyone will vote. They have a 13 card deck that basically is your bid. You'll bid for if you want to go first. So you'll use your highest card, use a high card if you want to go first, a lower card if you don't care about what order you want to go in. Each round, the action cards will change, and you'll choose again one of the 5 action cards. And usually those are placing soldiers into an area of your choosing or remove enemies from your territory. The fun thing about the worker placement or the area control is that there are different parameters that you have to follow. Wherever the king is, there can be no changes in that king's area. So if the king is there, that means whatever soldiers, whatever people are in there, they cannot be removed, they cannot be placed. That'll be more important at the end of your 3rd, 6th, and 9th rounds. So one of the actions you can do, of course, is to move the king so that you can place it in a more strategic place. The other big important thing about the king is that wherever your king is, only the areas surrounding the king and are touching the king's territory are the places that you can place your soldiers. I hope that makes sense. So there's specific parameters, and you can change those parameters or where the king is by, again, choosing those different actions that will be available in the public pool. And each round, those actions change. Sometimes whatever piles they are, they're about the same type of ability, like instead of moving 2 soldiers into an area, you can move 4 soldiers, or remove 1 enemy soldier from your territory and place one of your own in there instead. Things like that. The other main factor of the game is, again, the castillo, or the tower, where you can choose to place random caballeros inside the castle, and you have to want to remember how many guys you put in there, because at the end of the 3rd, 6th, and 9th rounds, you'll also score whoever has the majority of soldiers inside the tower. And you can't see or look inside of those once you place your soldiers inside. After El Grande, we played the Lost Ruins of Arnak. We went through the Missing Expedition, I think that's what it's called, which is the campaign. So that was 6 gameplays. And also, we got the new adventure set chest, which the artwork and everything is so beautiful. It has 2 brand new boards and 2 much more intense research tracks. And we played both versions of those, and that was really fun. So after the Lost Ruins of Arnak, we played Heat, Pedal to the Metal, Ito, Rolling Realms, Red Rising, Dominion Rising Sun, Splendor Marvel, Pan Am, Wormspan, Yahtzee, Trekking Through History, Race for the Galaxy, and a new game, SETI. SETI stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and it's a big, meaty game. You have a very cool central board that basically is like our solar system. The whole point of the game is to obviously find extraterrestrial intelligence and to have the most points in doing so. Every player has cards that will either work for your resources or have you do specific actions, as well as a main board where you'll have 4 different types of technologies, as well as a computer for all of your data points. You can send out signals and research through your telescope. You can send out probes in order to travel to different planets. And again, either they can stay above orbit of the different planets that you're traveling to in order to have a wider scope, or they can land on the planets and get specific bonuses that way. Like I said, there are different technologies that you have the ability to do, and you can upgrade those technologies throughout the game in order to improve your gameplay and get more actions done within each of your technologies. So again, you can send probes, you can collect more cards, you can research and do your data points, as well as, I can't think of what the term is, I'll put it up on the screen, but basically move your microphone up and down, increasing your popularity, your outreach, so that more people are listening in and being excited for you to find your extraterrestrial intelligence. One of the most cool and also challenging parts of SETI is that the central board, again, is your solar system, and as we know, all planets are orbiting and they move and change. And so each time, I don't know if it's each action or specific technology that happens, that will determine what rings of the solar system are going to rotate, which will affect sometimes the path that you're sending your probes out onto, as well as being able to match up the planets with your telescope or your radar. So it creates some challenges and different ways to deal with in the game. You'll also be collecting different colored research. Basically, once enough players have done the research and researched each of those colors, you get to pull out a random alien, and then the aliens are added to your game, your extraterrestrial intelligence, and those different types of aliens will produce a different type of scoring chart, as well as usually a deck of cards which will produce different bonuses and again, extra actions you can do throughout the game. Again, this is a very brief overview of the very meaty game. So again, I would suggest you check it out. It was a lot of fun, but it was also a lot to take in. After SETI, we played Call to Adventure, Phase 10, Mountain Goats, Spots, and a new game that I really, really loved. Probably one of my favorites of this quarter was a game called Jisogi. Have I been pushing this back? Jisogi is an anime studio tycoon board game. It's a worker placement board game where you have 4 different employees. First off, I just gotta say, I love the art style of this game. I'm a huge anime manga fan myself, if you couldn't tell. I love them playing into the trope of all of the anime studios are filled with workers who are dead inside. And so each of your workers basically look dead inside. They're represented by ghosts or like skulls, I think. And part of the game is you're taking each of your workers to do specific jobs through your game. All of this in order to release an anime. Some is to hire more workers so that you can produce more anime faster. A lot of it is to write and get your 3 main components of your anime story, and it's super fun because all of the different components are different anime tropes that you're pretty used to. So for your setting, you have a magical world or a superhero school or a post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse. You get the idea. But the biggest component for this entire game is that you are trying to deal with the ongoing trends of anime. So you'll have a trend that is dying, the current trend, and the upcoming trend of the manga. And again, beautiful artwork that captures each of the genres so much, and I love them so much. But each of these genres are represented with different colored icons to have your main plot or story match those trends that are going on. The different creatives that you hire all have different abilities and bonuses based on the types of anime that you produce. You can also you can collect certain things as resources. I think it's hype to use as currency because, as we all know, anime costs a lot of money and you have to go into debt. I do not think you can avoid going into debt. So you're trying to balance being able to pay your workers in order to produce the anime, but also pay off your prior debts during each round. You can also work hard especially if you are making money through the anime that you're producing, to get merch and have merch deals, which will help boost the hype and the love for each anime that you do produce. So again, quick overview, but such a fun and complicated tycoon game that it was definitely difficult to do, but I definitely also want to play it again. And it's just that much more satisfying when you have a plot that actually makes sense and works for the genre that you're trying to go for and what different trends. But anyway, the next game we played was a game called Dogs with Jobs, which was also super adorable. It just showcases our sweet, sweet good boys doing good boy things, like being a rescuer or being a therapy dog. And there's different types of dogs that you can collect, and you're trying to get a set of three sets of 3 of different types of dogs. And once you start going for those dogs, you can't go for any other types of dogs. As well as each dog card has an ability. You'll always have cards in your hand, which you will spend the cards for their numerical values in order to buy as many dogs as you want from the public pool, or you can use those cards to complete tasks that you are also collecting. You're drawing your hand. Each group of dogs must have 1 task complete in order to score. And you can complete multiple tasks in each group of dogs. But again, you have limitations, as well as just juggling the types of dogs you want to go for versus what cards and things that are available to you. So it's a pretty fun, pretty simple game, but still has some strategy in it. And again, all of the artwork for the sweet dogs doing good boy things. After Dogs with Jobs, we played Ticket to Ride, and then we played a new, fun, quick game that I'm really enjoying called Wine Cellar. It has art from Vincent Dutrait once again, and it's beautiful. So I've only played the 2-player version, but I'm sure it's just as fun with 4 players. But basically, with the 2-player game, you'll take out 18 bottles of wine numbered 1 through 18. You'll divvy up the numbers between you, and each player will start with 8 wine bottles in their hand, with the 2 remaining wine bottles on the table as your public pool. Everyone will take a moment to choose and look at your public pool to see what type of wine bottles you're going for. And what will determine what bottles you're going for are your client cards. And client cards will score based on the types of wines that they want, which you have an option of white, rosé, red, and sparkling, as well as countries of origins. With a 2-player game, you're only going for 1 country of origin, but with the more players, more countries of origins you can add. Once you look at what bottles are available, you choose with your hand of wine bottles, numbered 1 through 18, depending on what numbers you have, and you will choose how high you want to bid to be the first one to choose what wine bottles are available. Once everyone does, or secretly bidding, everyone will flip over their numbers, and of course, whoever bid the highest will go first, and so on and so forth. And then you'll place that wine bottle that you got onto your tableau. And the bottles that everyone used to bid now become the new public pool for the next round. Then you'll have 7 cards left, and you will continue on the process until you run out of wine bottles to bid. At the end of your turn, you should have 8 bottles on your tableau in front of you. The other complicated thing about this game is that on the wine bottles, as you place them horizontal, because that's how you store wine, each bottle has 8 numbers on the side of their bottles. The first bottle you get really doesn't matter. But after that, every other bottle that you get has to be placed above or below the previous bottle. Once you have all 8 bottles in your tableau, you will score your highest bottle to your lowest bottle. Highest bottle you'll score from the leftmost, and you'll go diagonally until you score to the rightmost number. So you want to place your bottles as best you can to get the highest numbers corresponding with the placement of your bottles, if that makes sense. So it's a really fun little bit of strategy game, but also the luck of the draw and how high you bid. So I really enjoy it with just 2 players, and they recommend doing a 3-round kind of tournament style for 2 players, which I think was really fun. So I'm excited to play it with more people. And the final game on our list was Brass Birmingham, which I had seen in the past, especially doing all of my board game videos, that Brass Birmingham actually got a lot of love, and I was very excited to play it. We got to play it with our friends, I think, last week. It's definitely another very complicated, meaty game, as I call them. You have a big old personal player board in front of you with different types of buildings that you can place out into Birmingham, I'm assuming, or England or wherever, out on the map. And everyone will have 8 cards in their hand that will either have industry symbols, which are brick or clay, iron, coal, a couple of others, or it will have locations. No matter what, you use cards in order to do an action. But you can also use the locations or industry cards. You can play one of those cards, an industry card, in order to place that specific type of industry onto a matching tile on the board, as well as if you do a location card, you can place an industry that matches the tiles that are in that specific location. But locations, of course, cost resources. You'll either usually pay iron or coal, as well as you'll always pay money in order to build your industries. The other and probably most important aspect of Brass Birmingham is your links. I'll have 2 different eras. The first era is the canal era, which canals connect to most location places on the board. And in the second era, you'll place railroads. Each industry has different levels. They're more expensive, but they also give you more resources, as well as being connected to markets is really important in order to get coal. You can also buy coal or iron from the market as long as you're connected. Depending on what buildings are out there, you can take any player's coal for free, I believe, and then with iron, you have to be connected to a player's iron factory. It's definitely a game of push and pull of what cards you can use, as well as the different actions that you can take. You can also get wild locations and industries in order to, again, help with your game, especially if you're getting the locations or industries that you don't want. Beer is also a really big industry, especially in the second era. You can have your own beer, of course, by building your own brewery, or again, if you're connected to someone else's brewery, you can take their beer. There's a lot of elements to this game, and again, with having a whole other second era where you've worked your way up to building industries and creating all your links between the markets to your industries and other people's industries. But once you end the first era, all of the links disappear in any level 1 buildings, and you basically start over building your links back up. But with the second era, you can build railroads a lot quicker because historically they could build railroads a lot quicker than canals. So you can build 2 railroads at a time if you have the resources. Again, it hypes up your abilities that you can do and actions that you can take, but it also costs more resources. You want to plan accordingly. It was definitely a complicated game. I'd play it again for sure, but it was very interesting my first go around to be like, oh, I went this strategy and I don't know if it really helped me. Hi, it's a brand new day. I also have a cold. I was editing the video, and while going back over my footage, I realized I did not record the games that we played again, so I'm going to record that really quick. So I apologize for the weird voice. But anyway, here are the games that we played again this quarter. Ark Nova, Bitoku, Mistborn the deck building game, Twice as Clever, Just One, Wingspan, Nova Era, Cartographers Twice, Tapestry, Nerds, Lost Ruins of Arnak, and of course Twisted Paths, Rolling Realms, Race for the Galaxy, Call to Adventure, and Wine Cellar. Whew. I played a lot of games this quarter, and I can't believe we're actually on the 4th quarter, which is what? But regardless, now we have 76 game titles under our belt, as well as 134 games played, which I think is pretty darn good. I'll be very excited and interested to see if I can play almost 30 more different game titles by the end of this year. And again, for anyone who likes this board game content, would you be interested in seeing like an award ceremony of like most played game, favorite aesthetic of a game, you know, things like that. But anyway, if you got to the end of this video, thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for a spooky art vid by the end of the month. And of course, just stay tuned in general for creativity. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Point of the game is obviously to have them So you'll bid for not drones. Oh, what were they called? Will allow you to spend the certain number.
That will either let you spend the numbers spend the colored or the themed cards that match. You will spend the cards numbers to buy the different types of dogs that you're going for that match the type of dog that you're going for.
No, you will spend the money.